3, 2, 1.
Okay, hello. Today we're going to do a video, a role play about conflict mediation, and it's going to be supporting an article that I'm writing for the ELLC on principles of conflict mediation. My name is Sue Pratt, and the friends here who are going to take part in the role play, who are really good friends with each other, is Johan Alexandersson and Laura Mudd.
Hello.
At YWAM Harpenden, and
Yes.
here we are. So without any more ado, this is a situation that some of you may identify with on your base. You never know. So let's start.
All right.
So I'll start off and just welcome them. So welcome, Laura and Johan, to this time. Thank you for being willing to sit together and talk about the situation. You both know that I have spent time with you individually to listen to your stories.
Thank you.
And that was confidential, apart from anything that you may have given me permission to say in this group. So I am a little bit aware, but I want now to hear you tell your story. And if you're okay with this, Johan, I'll ask Laura to start, because she was the one that asked for the mediation process.
Yeah,
Sure.
So,
thank
and
you.
we'll pray. And so we just invite the Lord into the situation. Amen.
Amen.
Sue, thank you for helping us. I have been trying to talk to you on several occasions, and I just don't feel heard. I feel like, that he is not listening to me. I have this homeless ministry that I'm trying to see birthed and started, and I really am trying to give a lot of time to it. And so because of that, I haven't been able to come to maybe some of the worship times or the prayer times, staff meetings here on campus. And I feel like I'm not really supported by the leadership. I don't feel like the leadership is asking me how things are going, or they basically just say you're not coming to things. And so I've been really frustrated, and it's not going anywhere. So I just needed some help with that.
And have you've tried to talk with him yourself?
I did. And I just get the same thing coming back to me, like, you just need to be at staff meeting, you need to come to our community rhythms. And I say, yes, I try to when I can, but the homeless are not on a schedule. They are needing help all the time, anytime. And so that ministry with the homeless is hard to schedule to fit with the campus right now.
And just to break in here too, just as the conflict mediator, I would have established some ground rules. And one of those ground rules is no interruptions, which so far they're doing pretty well at. They haven't interrupted one another, listened to one another fully. But we'll talk about that again in a minute, and I'll write more about that in the article. But now I'm going to reflect back to Laura what I heard. So Laura, this is what I think. You said that you don't feel heard and you don't feel valued by the leadership team. You have a homeless ministry which you're trying to get off the ground, and that means that you can't come to everything, not all the meetings on the base, because the homeless don't have the same sort of schedule that you do.
Yeah.
And when you tried to talk with Johan about it, you have had the same response.
Yeah, I just don't think that the leadership values what I'm doing. I'm not, I haven't really been given opportunity to share the vision with the whole community. I haven't been invited to speak about it, so I just don't feel really cared for. Or is this ministry even wanted here? And that's kind of my question, really.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Johan, and we've talked as well. So please, would you like to tell me your side and respond to Laura?
I'll do my very best. I think it's quite. First, to start off, I think the email that you sent at the beginning was a little bit too short and a bit abrasive, and I feel it's hard to get an acknowledgement from you from that, which is a bit hurtful. But then I think what's difficult for us as a leadership team is that we feel that we're trying to want to help you with your
I
connection.
just don't really feel like you.
Laura,
Yeah.
sorry, have to say, please, listen
Yeah,
to
sorry.
Johan until he's
Yes,
finished.
thank you.
So what we're trying to help you get more engaged is that we're asking you to be for the things that we feel are bare minimums as a campus. And that's our Monday mornings, Wednesday mornings, staff meetings, Thursday nights, and some of our community breaks, which I think 4 out of the 5 that we're running is half an hour. And for us, that is for you to be engaged and to be present and to be known, because we feel that your ministry becomes a little bit on the side because you're out there. And we're wanting to create an established relationship with you so you do feel wanted, but we feel the things that we're giving you is to help with that is what you don't want, but then you also feel upset that you're not connected. And I think also because of that, it's hard to invite you to come to a staff meeting because you're also not really known, and we don't really know if you want to be. And so then we feel it's not bringing the community in when you want to share, it's just sharing for your sake, which we found out wouldn't be helpful.
So before I invite you to respond to that, so what I'm hearing you say, Johan, is that you as a leadership team, and you're representing the leadership team, you do support Laura's ministry, you want her to flourish, but you do want her to come to the minimums, which are all of the
Monday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday staff meeting and gathering and our tea breaks.
And that you would invite her to share, but you don't think that she's really interested in what goes on in the community. Perhaps that's
I guess that's maybe a bit further than I said, but yes, maybe that would be felt. That would be a feeling.
Yes. And yes, and maybe at this point I would say as a mediator, I have taken some notes, but I think it is important to feed back to the person the words they used and not necessarily make up my own words, which I just did. But no mediation process is 100% perfect. So if you can remember the words that people use, then feed back those words to them, not just make up your own interpretation. So thank you. Laura, would you like to respond?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think there is felt kind of misunderstanding on both sides. I feel like the leadership team is always changing, you're always changing the expectation, and I'm trying to get more people out there, out serving in the community. And I try to come to as many worship times as I can, maybe not every week because of circumstances, but I am wanting to. I just feel like a little bit of moving toward understanding my heart, would be appreciated on my side.
Can I just ask the question of Laura? When you say always, could you tell me another time when they've actually changed the expectation? Could you be specific?
Well, when 6 months ago, when there was not tea breaks every day, we weren't asked to come to those. So there's more expectation for me to take every day to be here instead of doing the ministry.
Johan, would you like to respond?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to build community and we're responding on the feedback that we get from the community that we're not unified. So it is our attempt to unify us, and particularly ministries that are more not on campus, which I see the tension, but I guess thinking about it in this conversation, I'm open to renegotiate to things.
What would you like to renegotiate?
I can recognize that the adding the tea breaks, that was not the agreement when you started. Yes, that's if you come to all of them, that's an extra 2.5 hours, plus that's a disruptive for the morning schedule. So I cannot promise because I'm talking on behalf of our leadership team, but I'm willing to bring that back to them and or invite you in to have the conversation with us.
Yeah, and I'm willing to have that conversation about what the expectation is. I would like that.
That's very good. And at this point, depending on what the mediation situation was, because they're now moving towards each other a little bit, I might write that down either on the flip chart, which some mediators like to use, or particularly if it's in a group, or on a piece of paper so that it's recorded. And as soon as you start hearing some movement towards the other person, you make sure that you're going to remember that because it's quite significant. And then you can build perhaps some common interests. If I was to ask both of you, your common interest in this situation, what would you say that you might share? What could you say that you might share as a goal or an interest in this whole situation of base and small ministry? Pioneer ministry.
I think for us is that we want the ministry. I think it's a good ministry. We're too focused on our schools, and we need outward focused ministries that are local and that can engage our staff, but obviously not just those are such practical reasons, but of course just for the sake of the ministry itself to reach the poor.
Yeah.
And so what would that mean in terms of people supporting the ministry practically? How could people support Laura's ministry?
I don't know if that's for me to answer fully. I mean, we try to keep a low, what do you say, a flatter structure and not so top down. So it will be a conversation how to engage. I have to engage with you.
I mean, I would just like to be able to invite people to join me to go do ministry on different days. So
Yeah,
you know, the freedom to say, hey, would you like to try this ministry, reaching out to the homeless?
So I think with that, I think maybe just what would be appreciated from us is maybe a change of just like your email, and also just heard other conversation where your tone toward the leadership is quite harsh, or saying things like that, we don't want this, which I can understand from where you're sitting, that that's not what you feel like, but I think a softer tone and a bit more agreeable in seeing our heart that we actually want this would just be helpful, and it also makes us a bit more willing to discuss with our staff, I think.
What do you think about that, Laura? About the email? And
I mean, I think email is not the best way of communicating.
It's true.
Not my favorite way of communicating. Would much prefer a sit-down conversation, so I can try to approach you more instead of just sending an email. I would prefer that probably as well.
Would you accept that your email was harsh?
Yeah, I'll say harsh.
I mean, it was a while ago when I wrote it, so I probably was frustrated. I don't know what tone it was written.
Okay. Fair enough. So at this point, they're beginning to chat a little bit. So maybe if they interrupt each other a little bit, it's all right, I suppose, as long as they don't really interrupt. But it seems like things are they're not in such polarized positions, that they're looking at each other's perspective a little bit more, and there's possibility for negotiation of what those rhythms, the expectations of how much Laura comes to the base, how much the base sends people to support Laura, etc. So So how are you both feeling at this point, Laura?
Yeah, I think it's helpful to have someone else help with the conversation. So appreciate the mediation role in this kind of situation. Okay.
Right. Would you say that was a feel? I mean, how do you feel at them?
Well, I feel more heard.
You feel more heard?
Yeah, because time was taken to hear me.
Okay. And what about you, Johan?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would echo that. Feel more heard. Feel Laura is having a more relaxed stance, and I think having someone else sometimes helps with that. It's because we've had things in the past where we had to work through and have a long relationship, so that just softens things up a bit.
Okay, great. I think we'll bring that to an end, just to say that the deeper the conflict is, the more it needs to be resolved at a feeling level, because you can resolve a little disagreement on what time you have the coffee break quite easily if there's not a lot invested into it. But when it's something that's really important, then feelings are very significant. in the process, even if you think you're not a feeling person. I like to say that thinking people can feel, and feeling people can think. Sometimes you might need a list of emotions on your phone if you're a thinker, so that you can look at them. But really, these things get resolved at a fairly deep level if they're deep issues. So that's it for today. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you, that's great.
Wonderful.
And no people were hurt in the making of this video.
No.